Commander Jake Morrison stood at the viewing port of the Earth transport ship, watching the massive space station grow larger against the backdrop of stars. After 40 years of radio signals and messages, humanity was finally going to meet there. Galactic neighbors face to face. The station was bigger than any city on Earth, with towers that stretched for miles and lights that sparkled like diamonds. First time seeing Kethara Station? Asked Dr. Lisa Carter, the team's main scientist. She moved next to Jake at the window, her eyes wide with wonder. Hard to believe we're really here, Jake replied. All those years of wondering if we were. Alone in the universe. And now look at this place. The station orbited around an ancient world called Kethara, home to the Kethmori people. They were the oldest species in the galaxy, wise and powerful. Every other alien race looked up to them for guidance. Getting invited to join the Galactic Council was the greatest honor Earth had ever received. Ambassador Nick Rodriguez joined. Them at the window. He was a calm man who had spent years learning about alien cultures from the radio messages. The Kethmori representatives should be waiting for us, he said. This is going to change everything for humanity. Captain Ryan Bell, Earth's military officer, checked his equipment one more time. He was not expecting trouble, but it was his job to keep everyone safe. Docking in 5 minutes, he announced. Everyone ready? The transport ship connected to the station with a soft thud. The airlock opened, and the human team stepped into a corridor that seemed to stretch forever. The walls were made of some kind of smooth metal that glowed with soft blue light. Strange symbols covered the surfaces, and the air smelled like flowers, mixed with something electric. Welcome to Kethara Station, said a voice that came from everywhere at once. It was the station's computer, speaking perfect English. The Galactic Council awaits you in Chamber 7. As they walked through the corridors, the humans saw their first real aliens. Tall, thin beings with silver skin and 4 arms walked. Past them, these were the Voltari, made of living crystal. Their bodies caught the light and threw it back in rainbow patterns. They nodded politely to the humans, but kept walking. Next came a group of the Zephyrians, who looked like giant insects walking on 2 legs. Their wings made soft buzzing sounds, and their big black eyes seemed to see everything. One of them stopped and spoke in a clicking voice. First-time visitors, it said. Welcome to the Great Gathering, but be careful. Not all are pleased with your arrival. Before Nick could ask what that meant, the Zephyrian hurried away with its group. That was strange. Lisa whispered, why wouldn't they be pleased? They reached Chamber 7, a huge round room with seats arranged in circles. Representatives from dozens of alien species sat in the various sections. The humans had studied pictures of these beings for years, but seeing them in person was amazing. There were the rock-like granite folk, the floating gas beings called drift clouds, and many others. But the most important seats were empty. The Kethmori section, right at the front of the chamber, had no one in it. Where are the Kethmori? Jake asked a nearby Veltari representative. The crystal being's light flickered in what seemed like worry. They left, it said in a voice like wind chimes. When your ship arrived, they gathered their things and departed. They said nothing to anyone. Nick felt his heart sink. The Kethmori were supposed to be the humans' main sponsors in the Galactic Council. Without them, Earth's membership could be in serious trouble. A tall Zephyrian approached their group. I am Speaker Zeftal, it said. I will help you understand the proceedings. But first, you must know that your arrival has caused great concern. What kind of concern? Ryan asked, his hand moving close to his weapon. You bring companions, Zeftal said. The old ones can see them clearly. They fear what this means. Companions? Lisa looked confused. We're the only humans here. That is what your eyes tell you, Zeftal replied. But other eyes see different things. The Kethmori have the oldest sight in the galaxy. They see what walks beside you. What? Shares your space. The humans looked around at each other. They were alone in their group, just the four of them. There was nothing else there. I think there's been some mistake, Nick said. We came here alone. No one else is with us. Zeftiel's wings buzzed louder. The mistake is in your seeing, not in our warning. The Veltari also see them. The granite folk sense their weight. Even we Zephyrians can feel their presence in the air. This is crazy, Ryan muttered. There's nothing here but us. As they talked, Lisa noticed something odd. Every few seconds, the lights in the chamber would flicker slightly. It was so quick that she almost missed it. She also saw that the small cleaning robots that moved around the room stayed far away from the human group, as if they were avoiding something. Speaker Zeftal, she said, could you describe what you see when you look at us? The alien's big eyes focused on her. I see 4 humans, as you appear to yourselves. But I also see 4 others. They are tall and thin, made of light and shadow. They move when you move. They watch when you watch. They have been with your species for a very long time. That's impossible, Jake said. We would know if something was living with us. Would you? Asked a new voice. A Veltari glided over to their group, its crystal body pulsing with worried colors. Your species is young. You see only what your eyes were made to see. But these others exist in the spaces between your sight. The Kethmori know of these beings, Zeftal continued. They are called the Ethereals in the old tongue. They fought a great war long ago, before your species even existed. The Kethmori thought them all destroyed. But they weren't destroyed, the Veltari added. They found a way to survive. They found your world. They found your people. And now, they live as shadows beside you. Lisa felt a chill run down her back. Are you saying these things are parasites? Are they hurting us? We do not know, Zeftal admitted, but the Kethmori fear them greatly. They say the Ethereals were too powerful, too dangerous. They say your species may become something more than human because of this bond. The chamber around them had gone quiet. Other alien representatives were listening to the conversation, their various faces showing worry and fear. The Kethmori have called for an emergency session, the Veltari said. They want the Council to decide what to do about Earth before it's too late. Too late for what? Nick demanded. Before your companions remember what they once were, Zeftal replied. Before they decide to finish the war they started so long ago. Ryan looked around the chamber at all the alien faces watching them. So what happens now? Now you must prove that you and your companions are not a threat, the Veltari sighed. But first, you must learn to see them for yourselves. As if responding to those words, the lights in the chamber flickered again. This time, Lisa could swear she saw something move in the corner of her eye. Something tall and thin, made of light and shadow, just like the aliens had described. She turned quickly, but there was nothing there. Just empty air and the worried faces of the Galactic Council. But deep in her mind, she heard something that might have been a whisper. Or maybe it was just her imagination. We have waited so long, the voice seemed to say. Finally, you begin to see. Dr. Adam Price stared at the computer screen in his laboratory, not believing what he was seeing. The alien detection equipment that the friendly Zephyrians had given to Earth was showing impossible readings. Every major city on the planet was lighting up with signals that shouldn't exist. Run the scan again, he told his assistant, Dr. Carol Young, who was working at the next computer. This has to be a mistake. Carol shook her head as she looked at her own screen. I've run it 6 times, Adam. The results are the same every time. There are non-human life forms in every populated area on Earth. The emergency meeting at the Global Defense Center was packed with worried officials. Colonel Beth Hayes stood at the front of the room, pointing at a huge map of the world. Red dots covered every continent, showing where the alien scanners had detected the mysterious signals. As of this morning, we have confirmed readings from New York, London, Tokyo, Mumbai, and every other major population center, she said. Whatever these things are, they're everywhere. Dr. Kevin Stone, a marine biologist who had been studying ocean readings, raised his hand. Colonel, the signals aren't just in cities. We're getting readings from remote islands, deep ocean platforms, even research stations in Antarctica. If there are people there, these signals are there too. What exactly are we dealing with? Asked General Frank Davis, the head of Earth's Space Defense Program. Are we under attack? We don't think so, said Dr. Price. The signals move with human populations, but they don't seem to be causing any harm. People are acting normally. They're just ... there. Dr. Carol Young pulled up a new image on the main screen. This is where it gets really strange. The signals appear to be coming from the same physical space as human beings. It's like they're occupying the same area, but in a different dimension. Colonel Hayes nodded grimly. The aliens at the Galactic Council called them companions. They said these things have been with humanity for thousands of years. Thousands of years? Dr. Stone looked shocked. How is that possible? How could we not know? Because they exist in a different layer of reality, explained Dr. Price. Think of it like radio waves. They're all around us, but we can't see them without the right equipment. These companions are the same way. Father Paul Martin, who had been invited as a religious advisor, spoke up from the back of the room. I've been going through old texts, and there are references to invisible guardians in many faiths. Angels, spirits, watchers. What if these weren't just stories? You think these companions inspired our religious beliefs? Asked Dr. Young. It's possible, Father Martin replied. If they've been with us for thousands of years, influencing our development, then people might have sensed their presence, even if they couldn't see them clearly. Dr. Stone brought up another image. I've been looking at human evolution and technological development. There are some strange jumps in our progress. Times when we suddenly learn things that should have taken much longer to figure out. Like, what? Colonel Hayes asked. Fire, agriculture, the wheel, writing, mathematics, Dr. Stone listed. Each major breakthrough seemed to happen faster than it should have, like we had help. The room fell silent as everyone thought about what that meant. So these things have been guiding our development? General Davis asked. For what purpose? That's what we need to find out, Dr. Price said. And I think I know how. 3 hours later, Dr. Price and his team were setting up equipment in a secure laboratory. They had built a special chamber using the alien technology designed to amplify the signals from the companions. Are you sure this is safe? Asked Dr. Young as she checked the readings on her instruments. The Zephyrians said it should work, Dr. Price replied. We're not trying to hurt them, just make contact. Colonel Hayes watched from the observation room with several other officials. In the chamber, volunteer test subject Danny Walsh sat in a chair surrounded by the alien equipment. He was a young soldier who had volunteered when he learned about the mission. Danny, can you hear me? Dr. Price asked through the communication system. Yes, sir, Danny replied. I feel a little strange, like there's someone standing right next to me, but I can't see anything. That's normal, Dr. Price said. We're going to increase the power slowly. Tell us if you feel anything different. As the equipment hummed louder, Danny's expression changed. His eyes went wide, and he looked to his right as if someone was there. There's someone here, he whispered. I can see them now. They're tall and thin, made of light. They look ... sad. Can you communicate with them? Colonel Hayes asked from the observation room. Danny was quiet for a moment, and his voice changed. It was still his voice, but the way he spoke was different, more formal. "We greet you, children of Earth," Danny said, but it didn't sound like Danny talking. Everyone in both rooms held their breath. "We have waited long for this moment," the voice continued through Danny. "You have grown strong enough to see us at last." Dr. Price leaned forward. "Who are you? What do you want?" "We are the Ethereals," the voice replied. "We are refugees from a war that destroyed our home dimension. We came to your world seeking shelter, and we found something we did not expect." "What did you find?" Dr. Young asked. "Hope," the voice said simply. "Your species had the capacity for growth, for change, for partnership. We decided to help you develop, to guide you when we could, because we saw in you the potential to become what we once were. The Keth Mori are afraid of you," Colonel Hayes said. "They say you're dangerous." Annie's face showed sadness. "The Keth Mori were our allies once, in the Great War. But when defeat seemed certain, they abandoned us. They opened the rifts that scattered our people across the universe." "What war?" General Davis asked. "Who were you fighting?" "The Void Devourers," the voice replied, and even through Danny, they could hear the fear in those words. "Beings that consume entire dimensions, that feed on reality itself. We fought them for millions of years, holding them back from the populated regions of the galaxy." "Are they still out there?" Dr. Price asked. "Yes," the voice said. "Trapped in a dimensional prison that weakens with each passing century. The Keth Mori know this. They fear that by helping your species, we are preparing you for the war that will come when the prison finally breaks." "And are you?" Colonel Hayes asked directly. There was a long pause before the voice answered. "We hope it will not be necessary. But yes, we have been preparing you. Your species has something unique, something that could make the difference when the Void Devourers return." "What's that?" Dr. Young asked. "The ability to exist in multiple dimensions at once," the voice replied. "To bridge the gap between realities. It is why we can live within your dimensional space without you seeing us. It is why your species can adapt to any environment, overcome any challenge." "So you've been using us," General Davis said, anger in his voice. "No," the voice said firmly. "We have been helping you become what you were always meant to be. The partnership has made both our species stronger. You have given us purpose, hope, a reason to continue existing. We have given you the tools to face whatever comes." "The Keth Mori want to destroy Earth," Colonel Hayes said. "They think we're too dangerous." "They are afraid," the voice replied. "Afraid of what you might become. Afraid of what the return of the Ethereals might mean. But mostly, they are afraid of facing the truth about the war they abandoned." The equipment started to flicker, and Danny's voice returned to normal. "I'm losing the connection," he said. "They're fading." But before the contact was completely lost, the voice spoke one more time. "The Keth Mori fleet is already moving toward your world. They mean to end this before you can become too powerful. But they do not understand that it may already be too late. The prison weakens, and the Void Devourers stir. Soon, the galaxy will need every ally it can find." The equipment shut down, and Danny slumped in his chair, exhausted in the observation room. The officials looked at each other with growing worry. "How long do we have?" Colonel Hayes asked. Dr. Price checked his instruments. "Based on the long-range scans, the Keth Mori fleet will reach Earth in 6 days. And these Void Devourers?" "Unknown," Dr. Price replied. "But if they're right about the prison weakening, we might be facing a war on 2 fronts." General Davis stood up. "Then we better start preparing. If humanity is going to survive this, we need to learn everything we can about these companions and what they can teach us." As the meeting broke up, Dr. Young stayed behind to look at the data from the contact session. "Carol?" Dr. Price asked. "What is it?" "The energy readings during the contact," she said. "They're off the charts. If the companions can amplify human abilities like this, then maybe we really do have a chance against whatever's coming." "Let's hope so," Dr. Price replied, "because something tells me we're going to need every advantage we can get." Dr. Amy Foster sat in the communication chamber, her eyes closed as she listened to the whispers in her mind. She had been one of the first volunteers to learn how to speak directly with the companions, and each conversation revealed more terrible truths about the galaxy's past. "Tell me about the war," she said quietly. The voice that answered came from the ethereal, bonded to her, speaking through her thoughts. "It began when the Void Devourers first appeared at the edge of our galaxy. They came from the spaces between realities, hungry for dimensional energy." In the observation room, Dr. Greg Turner recorded everything. He was a quantum physicist who had been trying to understand how the ethereals existed in multiple dimensions at once. "The Devourers were not like other enemies," Amy continued, her voice taking on the formal tone of her companion. "They did not want territory or resources. They wanted to consume the very fabric of existence itself." Captain Sam Rodriguez, who had taken over Earth's diplomatic missions after the crisis began, leaned forward. "How many worlds did they destroy?" "Entire star systems," Amy replied. "Billions of beings across thousands of species. The ethereals were the first to stand against them, but we could not fight them alone." "That's when you allied with the Kethmori," Dr. Turner said. Amy nodded. "The Kethmori had weapons that could strike across dimensions. The Veltari could create barriers between realities. The Zephyrians could move through space faster than light. Together, we pushed the Devourers back." Dr. Tony Clark, who had been studying the alien technology, looked up from his tablet. But something went wrong. The war lasted for millions of years, Amy said, sadness filling her voice. "Slowly, our allies began to lose hope. They said the Devourers could not be defeated, only contained. So they betrayed you," Captain Rodriguez said. "In the final battle, when we had a chance to destroy the Devourers completely, the Kethmori opened dimensional rifts instead of closing them. They scattered us across the galaxy and trapped the Devourers in a prison between dimensions." Dr. Helen Brooks, who had been studying ancient ruins found on Mars, spoke up. "We found evidence of this battle in our own solar system. The structures on Mars aren't from any Earth civilization." "Mars was a battlefield," Amy confirmed. "Many ethereals died there, fighting to protect the inner planets. The survivors came to Earth because your world existed in a stable dimensional space." "Why Earth specifically?" Dr. Turner asked. "Humans were already developing the ability to exist in multiple dimensions," Amy explained. "Your dreams, your imagination, your creativity, these things reach across dimensional barriers. We saw potential in your species." Captain Rodriguez felt a chill. "You've been preparing us for war." "We hoped it would not be necessary," Amy replied. "But yes, we have been teaching your species, slowly and carefully, to become what we once were." Dr. Clark brought up images on the main screen. "These energy readings from around Earth, they're getting stronger. The dimensional prison is weakening." Amy said, "The Kethmori know this. That is why their fleet approaches your world. How much time do we have?" Dr. Brooks asked. Amy was quiet for a moment, listening to her companion. "The first cracks are already appearing. Within months, maybe weeks, the Void Devourers will begin to break free." The room fell silent as everyone realized what that meant. Kethmori think they can prevent this by destroying Earth," Captain Rodriguez said. "They are fools," Amy replied, anger creeping into her voice. "Destroying us will not stop what is coming. It will only ensure that when the Devourers return, there will be no one capable of standing against them." Dr. Turner looked at his readings. The Kethmori fleet will arrive in 2 days. What can we do? You must choose, Amy said. Remain as you are and face destruction from either the Kethmori or the Devourers. Or accept what you are becoming and fight for not just Earth, but the entire galaxy. What does that mean exactly? Dr. Brooks asked. Amy opened her eyes and looked directly at each person in the room. Full bonding with your companions. No more barriers between dimensions. You would become something new, something more than human. Or ethereal alone. Is it dangerous? Captain Rodriguez asked. Very, Amy admitted. Some humans cannot survive the process. Others are changed so completely that they are no longer recognizable as their former selves. But those who survive, they become beings capable of existing in multiple realities at once. They can see across dimensions, manipulate energy and matter at the quantum level, and resist the consuming power of the void devourers. Dr. Clark stood up. We need to tell the world leaders about this choice. There is more you must know first. Amy said, the Kethmori are not the only ones coming. Everyone turned to look at her. Long-range sensors have detected other fleets moving toward Earth. Some are coming to help, as Zephyrians have decided to stand with humanity. But others are coming to ensure we are destroyed before we become too powerful. How many? Captain Rodriguez asked. Unknown. But the battle for Earth will determine the fate of the galaxy. Dr. Turner checked his instruments. I'm reading massive energy buildups across the solar system. Something big is happening. Amy closed her eyes again, listening to her companion. When she opened them, her face was pale. The first Void Devourer scout has broken through the prison. It is small, weak, but it is free. Where? Dr. Brooks demanded. At the edge of the galaxy, near the Kethmori homeworld. It has already consumed 3 small planets. Captain Rodriguez activated his communication device. This is Rodriguez to Earth Command. We have a code red situation. The enemy has arrived. The response came back immediately. Copy that, Captain. We're reading the same thing. The Kethmori fleet has just dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of our solar system. And, Rodriguez asked, they're not alone. There are at least 6 different alien fleets out there. Some are broadcasting friendly signals. Others are powering up weapons. Amy stood up suddenly. My companion says we need to move fast. The dimensional barriers around Earth are starting to fluctuate. The presence of so many ships is destabilizing local space. What happens if the barriers collapse? Dr. Turner asked. The Void Devourers will be able to reach Earth directly, Amy replied. Number. More prison, no more protection. They will consume your world and use its energy to break free completely. Dr. Clark was already packing up his equipment. We need to get back to the main base. If we're going to make this choice about bonding, we need to do it now. Wait, Doctor. Brooks said. What about the other humans? Don't they deserve to know what's happening? Captain Rodriguez looked grim. The world leaders are being briefed as we speak. But there's no time for a global vote. We have maybe hours before this all starts. Amy nodded. The companions are ready. They have been preparing for this moment for thousands of years. The question is whether humanity is ready to take this step. Some will be, Dr. Turner said. Others won't. That's just human nature. Then we save who we can, Captain Rodriguez decided. And we fight for the rest. As they left the chamber, Amy stopped and looked back. My companion wants you to know something else. What? Dr. Clark asked. The reason the Ethereals chose Earth, chose humanity, wasn't just because of your dimensional abilities. Then what? Amy smiled for the first time in hours. Because you never give up. No matter how bad things get, no matter how hopeless the situation looks, humans keep fighting. The ethereals had forgotten that quality during their long war. You reminded them what it means to have hope. Let's hope that's enough, Captain Rodriguez said as alarms began blaring throughout the facility. Outside, the first ships of the Kethmori fleet were entering Earth's atmosphere, and in the distance, stars were beginning to flicker and die. As something vast and hungry stirred in the darkness between worlds, the final battle for the galaxy was about to begin, and humanity had to choose what they were willing to become to win it. Captain Roy Evans gripped the controls of his fighter jet as it screened through Earth's upper atmosphere. Below him, the blue planet looked peaceful, but space above was filled with alien warships preparing for battle. The massive Kethmori fleet had taken position near the moon, their ancient vessels bristling with weapons that could destroy entire cities. "Eagle Squadron, this is Control," came the voice in his headset. "You are cleared for dimensional phase testing. Remember, this is experimental technology." Roy took a deep breath. He was one of the first pilots to volunteer for the companion bonding process. The experience had been terrifying and wonderful at the same time. Now he could feel his ethereal partner as a warm presence in his mind, ready to help him do impossible things. "Let's see what we can do," he whispered, and activated the phase drive. The world around him shifted. His fighter jet became transparent, ghostly. He could see through the hull to the stars beyond. But more importantly, he could fly through solid objects as if they weren't there. "Phase drive working perfectly," he reported, moving to test the Kethmori shields. On the ground, Dr. Diane Murphy watched the energy readings from the underground command center. She had been one of the first engineers to undergo the bonding process, and now she could manipulate energy at levels that should have been impossible. "Roy's aircraft is generating power output 20 times higher than normal," she reported to General Peter Young, who was coordinating Earth's defense. "The companion bonding is working better than we hoped. How many volunteers do we have?" the general asked. 57 pilots, 32 ground troops, and 43 technical specialists, replied Dr. Claire Thompson, who had become the head of the bonding program. "The process is dangerous, but those who survive are incredibly powerful." At that moment, the first Kethmori attack began. Beams of purple energy lanced down from space, striking the ocean near major cities. The water boiled and turned to steam, creating massive clouds that blocked out the sun. "They're testing our defenses," General Young said. "Activate the barrier shields." Around the world, humans bonded with companions raised their hands toward the sky. Energy flowed from them into generators that Dr. Murphy had designed using ethereal technology. Invisible walls of force appeared above major population centers, deflecting the alien attacks. "Shields holding," reported Mark Peters, a soldier who had volunteered for bonding and was now stationed at the New York barrier generator. "But I can feel them getting weaker with each hit." In space, Captain Roy Evans led his squadron of phase-capable fighters through the Kethmori shield wall. The alien ships fired at them, but the energy beams passed right through the ghostly aircraft without causing damage. "This is incredible," said pilot Susan Garcia over the radio. "We can attack them, but they can't hit us back." "Don't get overconfident," Roy warned. "The companions say the Kethmori have weapons that can hit us even in phase mode." As if responding to his words, several Kethmori ships began glowing with different colored energy. When they fired, their beams struck the phased fighters directly, causing damage despite the dimensional shifting. "Garcia is hit," Roy called out. "These new weapons can reach us across dimensions." On Earth, Dr. Carl Anderson was monitoring deep space sensors when he saw something that made his blood run cold. "General Young, we have a bigger problem. Long range. Scans are showing massive dimensional distortions at the edge of the galaxy." "The Void Devourers?" Dr. Thompson asked. 3 of them have broken free from the prison. Anderson confirmed. They're heading this way, consuming everything in their path. General Young looked at the tactical display. How long until they reach us? At their current speed, maybe 6 hours? Anderson replied. But they're getting faster as they consume. More energy. Sir, came a voice from the communications station. We're receiving a transmission from the Zephyrian fleet. They're asking permission to join the battle. Tell them yes, Young decided. We need all the help we can get. Above Earth, the Zephyrian ships moved into position alongside the human defenders. Their insect-like vessels were smaller than the Kethmori warships, but they were fast and agile. Human defenders, came the clicking voice of Admiral Zefkara. We stand with you against the ancient enemy. Our species made mistakes in the past, but we will not abandon the galaxy's hope. The battle intensified as more alien fleets arrived. Some came to help Earth, others to destroy it. The space around the planet became a chaotic mess of energy beams, explosions, and ships moving at impossible speeds. Captain Roy Evans found himself flying alongside Zephyrian fighters, their wing-like appendages creating beautiful patterns as they danced through the battle. Working together feels natural, he reported, like we were meant to fight side. That is the gift of the ethereals, came the reply from Zefkara. They unite rather than divide. On the ground, the bonded. Humans were pushed to their limits. Mark Peters and his team were maintaining the barrier shields while under constant attack. Sweat poured down their faces as they channeled energy through their bodies. I can't keep this up much longer, gasped Soldier Eddie Price, who was helping to power the London barrier. The energy flow is burning me out. Hold on, Dr. Thompson called from the command center. We're working on something that might help. She was referring to the emergency plan they had developed. A small group of volunteers would undergo complete bonding with their companions, becoming permanent human ethereal hybrids. It was extremely dangerous, but it would give them the power to fight the Void Devourers directly. The first test subject is ready, reported Dr. Murphy. Pilot Maria Lopez has volunteered for complete integration. In the bonding chamber, Maria lay on a table surrounded by energy generators. She could feel her companion preparing for the final merger, and she was terrified but determined. Remember, Dr. Thompson said over the intercom, if you feel like you're losing yourself, we'll pull you out. No, Maria replied firmly. If this works, I'll be able to help save everyone. If it doesn't, at least we'll know. The process began. Energy flowed through Maria's body, changing her at the cellular level. Her skin began to glow with soft light, and her eyes turned silver. She could feel her consciousness expanding, touching other dimensions. Status report, Dr. Thompson called. I'm different, Maria said, her voice echoing strangely. I can see so much more now. The Void Devourers, they're not evil. They're just hungry. They don't understand what they're destroying. Can you fight them? General Young asked. I think so. Maria replied, but I'll need help. The other volunteers need to complete the bonding too. Dr. Barry White, a physicist who had been monitoring the process, stepped forward. I'll go next. One by one, the volunteers underwent the complete bonding process. Not all of them survived. Some were consumed by the energy, their minds unable to handle the merger. But those who succeeded became something new and powerful. As the transformed humans emerged from the bonding chambers, the space battle reached its climax. The Kethmori had brought their largest ships into the fight, vessels the size of small moons that could destroy planets with a single shot. All defenses are failing, reported Captain Evans. We need those hybrid defenders now. On our way, came Maria's voice, but it sounded different now, like multiple people speaking at once. The hybrid defenders rose into space without needing ships. They could survive in the vacuum, move faster than light, and manipulate energy with their thoughts. As they joined the battle, the tide began to turn. But even as they fought the Kethmori, everyone knew the real enemy was coming. The Void Devourers had consumed 12 star systems and were now close enough to be seen as dark spots against the stars, areas where space itself seemed to be missing. "They'll be here in 1 hour," Dr. Anderson announced. "Then we better be ready." General Young replied. The final battle for the galaxy was about to begin, and humanity had become something new to face it. The first Void Devourer arrived like a nightmare made real. It was a massive shadow against the stars, darker than empty space, with tendrils that reached out and consumed everything they touched. Entire asteroids simply vanished when the creature passed near them, not destroyed, but completely erased from existence. Admiral Frank Davis watched from the command ship as the hybrid defenders moved to intercept the creature. Maria Lopez led the group, her body glowing with silver light as she flew through space without a ship. Behind her came the other successfully bonded humans, each one changed into something that was both human and ethereal. "First contact in 30 seconds," Maria reported, her voice reaching every ship in the fleet through some kind of telepathic connection. The Void Devourer seemed to notice the approaching defenders. Its massive form shifted, and dozens of smaller tentacles emerged from its body, each one capable of destroying a battleship. "Remember," came the voice of Maria's companion through her mind, "they consume by breaking down the barriers between dimensions. You must strengthen those barriers while you fight." Maria and her team spread out, surrounding the creature. As its tentacles lashed out at them, they discovered something amazing. Instead of being consumed like everything else the Devourers touched, the hybrid defenders could actually resist the creature's power. "It's working," called Dr. Barry White, who had become one of the hybrids. "We can touch it without being destroyed." But the fight was far from easy. The Void Devourer was massive and powerful, and there were only 12 hybrid defenders. As they battled the creature, 2 more Devourers appeared at the edge of the solar system. On Earth, the space battle between the various alien fleets continued, but something had changed. Ancient Warmaster Kethval, leader of the Kethmori fleet, had stopped attacking Earth's defenses and was staring in horror at the approaching Void Devourers. "Open a channel to the human command," he ordered his communications officer. "General." Peter Young was surprised when the Kethmori leader appeared on his screen. "What do you want?" he asked. "We have made a terrible mistake," Kethval said, his ancient voice filled with regret. "We thought by destroying you, we could prevent the return of the Devourers. But we see now that you may be the only hope of stopping them." "You're a little late to realize that," Young replied. "Perhaps," Kethval agreed. "But we offer our weapons and our ships to aid in this fight. The Kethmori have many sins to answer for, but we will not let the galaxy die because of our fear." Young looked at his advisors, then made his decision. "We accept your help, but if you betray us again, ... "We will not," Kethval promised. "This is our chance to make up for abandoning the ethereals so long ago." The combined fleets turned their attention to the real enemy. The Kethmori ships, with their dimension-cutting weapons, proved to be extremely effective against the Void Devourers. Their beams could actually wound the creatures, causing them to shriek with sounds that crossed multiple dimensions. But even with all the ships working together, they were losing. The third Void Devourer had reached the outer planets and was consuming Jupiter's moons one by one. Each moon it ate made it larger and more powerful. "We need a new plan," Admiral Davis announced. "At this rate, they'll reach Earth in 2 hours." Maria Lopez, still fighting the first Devourer, suddenly had an idea. "Dr. Thompson, are you listening?" "I'm here, Maria," came the reply from Earth. "The companions are telling me something important." The Void Devourers aren't evil. They're just hungry because they've been cut off from their home dimension for millions of years. What does that mean? Dr. Thompson asked. It means maybe we don't have to destroy them, Maria replied. Maybe we can send them home. Dr. Carl Anderson, monitoring the dimensional readings, looked up in excitement. She's right. The prison that held them wasn't just keeping them trapped. It was keeping them separated from their natural food source. So what do? General Young asked. We open a portal to their home dimension, Maria said. But it has to be done at exactly the right moment, and someone has to guide them through. The plan was incredibly dangerous. Opening a portal to the Devourer's home dimension could let even worse things through. But as the creatures continued to consume the solar system, it became clear they had no choice. I'll do it, said Eddie Price, one of the pilots who had undergone partial bonding. My companion says I have the right kind of connection to open the portal. It's suicide, Dr. White protested from his position, fighting the first Devourer. Maybe. Eddie agreed. But if it works, we save everyone. The hybrid defenders worked together to lure all 3 Void Devourers toward a single point in space, near Mars. It was difficult and dangerous work. The creatures sensed the trap and fought back with increasing desperation. Portal opening in 60 seconds, Eddie announced as he positioned his ship at the center of the formation. The Kethmori and human fleets provided cover, their weapons keeping the Devourers distracted while the portal was prepared. The Zephyrian ships used their speed to dart in and out, drawing the creature's attention. 30 seconds, Eddie called. One of the Void Devourers suddenly broke away from the group and headed directly for Earth. I've got it, Maria said, chasing. After the creature. 10 seconds, Eddie announced. The portal opened like a wound in space itself. Through it, everyone could see the Devourer's home dimension, a place of swirling energy and strange lights. The creatures immediately sensed it and turned toward the opening. Now, Eddie shouted. The first 2 Devourers moved toward the portal, drawn by the familiar energy of their home. But the third one, the largest, was still fighting Maria near Earth. I can't hold it, Eddie gasped as the portal began to destabilize. The energy required to keep it open was burning him out. Let me help, came a new voice. Ancient Commander Kethanara, the Kethmori leader's daughter, had brought her ship close to Eddie's position. My people caused this catastrophe, she said. Let us help end it. Together, the human and Kethmori ships channeled energy into the portal, keeping it stable. The first 2 Void Devourers passed through the opening and disappeared into their home dimension. But the third creature was still near Earth, and Maria was weakening from the fight. I have an idea, she said suddenly. But I need everyone too. Trust me. Instead of fighting the Devourer, Maria stopped resisting its pull. The creature's tendrils wrapped around her, preparing to consume her like everything else. But Maria was no longer fully human. As the Devourer tried to break down her dimensional barriers, she used her hybrid nature to show it something else. The portal home. You don't belong here, she whispered to the creature through the dimensional link. You belong there, with your own kind. For a moment, the Void Devourer stopped trying to consume her. Through Maria's eyes, it could see the portal to its home dimension, still open near Mars Dot with a sound like reality tearing. The creature released Maria and turned toward the portal. It moved faster than anything that large should be able to move, crossing the distance to Mars in seconds. As the third Devourer passed through the portal, Eddie and Kethanara worked together to close the opening. The wound in space sealed itself, leaving only normal stars and planets. The battle was over. In the days that followed, the galaxy began to change. The Kethmori formally apologized to humanity and the surviving ethereals, taking responsibility for their ancient betrayal. They offered to share their technology and knowledge as payment for their mistakes. the other alien species, seeing how humans and companions had worked together to save everyone, welcomed Earth into the Galactic Council with full honors. The Zephyrians proposed that humans serve as mediators in future conflicts, since they had proven they could find peaceful solutions, even in the worst situations. On Earth, the hybrid defenders slowly returned to normal life, though they remained changed by their experience. They could still see across dimensions and communicate with their companions, but they were no longer the glowing beings they had become during the crisis. Dr. Maria Lopez, now the head of Earth's new Dimensional Studies Department, often visited schools to talk to children about their invisible friends. Thanks to new technology developed from the crisis, young people like Alex Johnson and Katie Wells could now see and play with their companions directly. The universe is much bigger and stranger than we ever imagined, Maria would tell the children. But it's also full of friends we just haven't met yet. The companions, no longer hidden, became part of everyday life on Earth. They helped with everything from scientific research to artistic endeavors, their different perspective adding new dimensions to human creativity and knowledge. And in the deepest archives of the Galactic Council, a new law was written. No species shall be judged for the allies they keep, for it is often the strangest partnerships that prove the strongest when darkness falls. Humanity had taken its place among the stars, not as conquerors or victims, but as the species that brought different worlds together. The galaxy was safer because humans had learned to share their world with invisible friends. And those friends had taught them that the greatest strength came not from standing alone, but from standing together.